What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 126. And today we're going to go over week that was in week 5. With me today from Astoria, Queens, in New York City, Jay Ferraro. Jay, rocking the New York Knicks hat. Game 1 tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. Two things I think about when I think about the Indiana Pacers. First is Reggie Miller, who I absolutely despise. And
Mhm.
second, we got an old favorite on our hands tonight. Obi's on the other team. So I'm thinking about that as well. But I am excited for this game tonight.
I'm excited to go over these matchups with you, my friend, and we're going to dive right into this thing. Let's kick it off with your matchup. Last week we were talking about how you were discussing with me how Ari's going to kick your ass, and he almost got the win this week. Almost. How do you feel coming out of this one, my friend?
Well, I certainly almost got by Ari. And I think what this shows, Joe, is that in the bigs, any given week, I was the first place team at the time. Ari was the last place team. And you can see how close it ended up being. Anything could happen any given week in the bigs. And I'm just happy that I'm able to continue my streak of not losing yet so far in the 2024 season. And this matchup against Ari, 10-9. Look, it was this close all throughout. It bounced a little bit at times, but as you see, I'll take this all day.
Oh yeah, definitely take a win whenever you can get it, and undefeated in the 24 season. Somebody take this man down. Somebody beat this guy. All right. Who's the next guy to get the opportunity? We will find out next week. But for right now, Sunday stats, you guys were tied in runs. Ari took that down. Jay, you had a 2 home run advantage, and Ari took that down. We're going to talk about that in a minute. You guys were tied in losses, and Ari took one of those, and you had a 1 home run advantage, and Jay, you gave up a couple of those to lose that category. So it ends 10-9, close categories. Ari wins by the 3 runs, the 1 homer, the 1 RBI, the 1 tick on the on base percentage, 2 2/3 in the innings, and a home run given up by a pitcher. Jay, you won by 2 triples, a win, and a loss. And you guys tied in stolen bases and errors. Before I go any further, do you know what the one big thing that gave Ari on base percentage, RBIs, home runs, and the runs scored total is?
Estrada last night.
A 2-run home run by Tyro Estrada in the last game of the week. Ben and I were watching that. And we were like, "What the hell just happened? It was 12-6. Now it's 10-9." I was like, "Tyro Estrada,
Yeah, as
nasty."
if I wouldn't know, though, Joe. You know I know. And perhaps maybe if I put Lee on the bench, the on base percentage could have maybe stayed my way. I don't know. I don't know math like Benny. But the thing of it is, you know what? I thought to myself, I got to let Lee play the nightcap because the second I start overthinking it, all of a sudden Lee finally gets a couple hits. Maybe he steals me a bag. It didn't happen that way. But yeah, when it was 12-6 in the afternoon, I felt a little good about it. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
fine. This looks a little better now. This is what I'm happy with. But 10-9, look, wait, look at that ERA, Joe. Look at that ERA. What I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you about Ari's team is this strategy of no relief pitchers certainly doesn't work, right? He's all the way at the bottom. But what I will say is when you are playing against Ari, Joe, he has the ability to not have any of those weird reliever blowups. No,
Mm-hmm.
funky ERA totals. He's not walking guys. He's not giving up home runs. So there's a strategy against this guy. I certainly didn't execute it properly. Got the 10 wins, fine. Benny
Yeah.
now leapfrogs me. But yeah, Sunday night in the bigs. That's what it was, my friend. Sunday night in the bigs.
It is always real fun on a Sunday night sitting here watching the final game. And especially this time of year, because Sunday night we had the basketball games on, we had the hockey games on, and we have the Phillies and Giants on. So that was a really fun last night. For your bench this week, Mr. Ferraro, you went 4 for 16. That's obviously a 250 batting average with a run, an RBI, a steal, and 2 strikeouts. Obviously, the steal and the RBI would have played had you gotten them in. For your moves this week, you added Masataka Yoshida, who ended up back on the IL. So are you regretting adding him back after you dropped him?
No, I'm regretting dropping him off the jump
Okay.
the previous week. Adding him
Mhm.
back, then putting him on the IL for my squad right now, that makes sense for me.
Okay. You dropped Cole Sands for him. Jordan Leisure, Landon Knack, and Trey Lipscomb all get added on the Monday. Landon Knack, 5 innings, a homer, a walk, 2 strikeouts, a 180 and a 1 in Arizona. Jordan Leisure has a blow up in his relief appearance, and Trey Lipscomb gives you an 0 for 4. Keegan Thompson gets added for Lipscomb. Ryan O'Hearn, 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs for Landon Knack. Caleb Ferguson, a third of an inning and a 6 whip in a relief appearance, but no runs scored. So it might have been a little ugly, but it was clean. Finally, adding Clayton Kershaw for Keegan Thompson. He's on the IL. Cooper Criswell, 4 1/3, a homer, a walk, a 5 strikeouts, 208 and a 138 in Minnesota. Dropped Caleb Ferguson. And added Garrett Crochet, 6 innings, a win, a homer, 6 strikeouts, a 150 and an 050 benched. And you added him for Colton Cowser. That one little play there, the Garrett Crochet play, would have given you innings. Was there any thought to playing him, or was this simply this guy is going to be the ace of the White Sox? I have to have him on my squad.
Most likely he's not on my squad by week's end. We talked about it before we went live here. I picked him up because I was concerned about innings. I was concerned about potential rainouts. I just wanted to cover myself if by any chance Ari was to pick somebody off the wire. He didn't end up doing that. If he does pick up somebody off the wire, he could have gotten another stat or two against me, potentially beat me. But no, I was worried about his ability to give up home runs. He's given up a lot this year, and I didn't want to get a loss.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work out that way. I would have gotten innings pitched, but you know what? There were so many factors at play with this particular one. I'm fine with it. I was fine with it.
Okay, good deal. Your MVP this week is your number 2 overall pick, Adley Rutschman, 345 with a 367. That's 3 runs, 3 doubles, a homer, 5 RBIs, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is your number 1 overall pick. That's Jose Ramirez, an 050 with a 231, 3 runs, a homer, 3 RBIs, a steal, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts, and an error. How in the hell does he have an 050 average and all of that alongside of it?
I don't know. I have no idea, but that's Jose Ramirez. That's who he is. So even in a week where we're going to call him my least valuable player, I'm still thrilled that that dude's on my squad for everything else that he does for my team. So yeah, it was bad week for J Rod, but there was some other things that he did for me. J Ram, excuse me. Uh, but yeah, and you know what's funny about Adley is that at some point yesterday he comes up with the bases loaded against Diaz on Ari's team, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, this could sway some stuff. Adley uncharacteristically struck out in that at bat, but yeah, pretty wild. And Adley's been doing exactly what I was hoping Adley would do. But this week with some ads and drops, Joe, some craziness having to get rid of Cowser all of a sudden, bringing Kershaw onto the team. When you woke up and you saw Kershaw was added to my squad, what was your first reaction?
That you're going to still be waiting quite a bit to get him, but it's worth hanging on to him if you can get 80 to 100 innings this year. If you can get 80 to 100 innings out of him, it's going to be good. It's just a matter of when he's going to be available, when he's going to, and how long he's going to be available for. Your Cy Young this week, sir, I will say this much. Shota Imanaga might be the NL Cy Young for the first month of the season so far because he has been fantastic. 7 innings, a win, a walk, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned, an 0.57 whip. And if you guys haven't heard about what this dude is doing this season, you better figure it out. That's 5 wins, an 0.78 ERA, and an 0.75 whip. Jay, sing some praises about your ace, Shota Imanaga.
I mean, I got him in the 10th round. He was the first starting pitcher I was targeting. I certainly didn't understand or realize that the numbers were going to be this good, Joe, but I knew this was the first starter I wanted to take off the board. And look, it's working out for me. A boatload of Ks, a boatload of wins. And like you said, certainly the conversation of, best pitcher in baseball through this first week of May, his name would be in that conversation. He's been absolutely fantastic and a main reason why I sit in the 2 spot going into this current week.
No doubt. No doubt. It was an amazing draft pick. And as your first pitcher, it's ballsy that you would wait until, what was it, the 10th round to get your first starting pitcher. But hey, it worked out and it's working out wonderfully for you. The Cy Yuck didn't work out for you was Jordan Leisure, who had that blow up in his relief appearance. So we'll go ahead and just chalk that up to a bad stream and move on. For Ari on his bench this week, he goes 19 for 83. That's a birth year for some people, 1983. That it becomes a 229 batting average, 6 runs, 5 doubles, a triple, a homer, 6 RBIs, a steal, 5 walks, 29 strikeouts, and an error. The steal is the only thing that matters here, as again, you guys tied in that category. For his moves this week, only 3 of them. He had a Tyler Alexander, 4 innings, a loss, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 6.75 and a 2 in Milwaukee, dropping Jonathan Cannon. Picks up Josh Winkowski, 4 1/3, a homer, 2 walks, a 208 and an 092 against San Francisco. And Jake Irvin, 5 innings, a loss, a walk, 4 strikeouts, nothing earned, 120 against Toronto. It is a tough luck loss, but it's a loss nonetheless that loses him that category. And he dropped Josh Winkowski to get him. His MVP this week, we talked about him once already. We'll talk about him again. It's Thairo Estrada, 348 with a 357 on base percentage. 2 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 6 RBIs, a steal, and 2 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter, Dansby Swanson, surprisingly enough, a 136 with a 208 on base, 2 runs, a homer, an RBI, a steal, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, and an error. With a nice little shout out to Cal Raleigh, who had 2 homers, but also 8 strikeouts and an error for Ari. This offense is incredibly deep. Thairo Estrada broke your heart on Sunday night, but just couldn't get the job done completely on making the win happen.
No, and it's the pitching, Joe, because up until maybe Thursday, neither of us, I think, had a home run. There was barely any RBIs. Both offenses weren't doing anything. And it was really, like I said, his starting pitching and that ERA, it befuddled me. I mixed and matched as best I could. But you know what? Ari's pitching staff was just dirty.
Yeah. I mean, whether you want to talk about Yamamoto not giving up a run or Jake Irvin not giving up a run or Sonny Gray, who is the Cy Young, 7 innings, a win, a walk, 6 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 0.57. That's 3 really great outings from 3 solid pitchers there.
His Cy Young is going to go. Let's not forget with Sonny Gray, Joe, he drafted that guy hurt. And I believe that happened in like the 10th, 11th, 12th round, something like that. And at the time, we had talked about how you're really drafting Sonny Gray for what he did the previous year, and he's hurt, concerned about it, but he's been absolutely fantastic for Ari since coming off the IL.
No doubt. 10th round pick there for Ari coming out of St. Louis this year. We liked the pairing of Sonny Gray and St. Louis. The question was always going to be health. Over 30 innings so far, 4 wins and an ERA south of 1. So he is once again putting up the numbers that I think Ari loves to see. The Cy Yuck is Alexis Diaz. It's an inning and a third, 2 relief appearances, a 33.75 and a 5.25. Yikes. So Jay, you're in second place, man. How are you feeling going into this next week's matchup?
I'm happy to be still sitting 1-2. You know, I would have liked to have remained in first place, but it didn't happen. I'm okay with that. And who else than our beloved commissioner sneaks past me? And you know what? That didn't happen till late. You know, I was looking at, the live updated standings in the afternoon, and we kept dancing back and forth, Benny and myself. I'd be in first, he'd be in second. But yeah, you know what? I got Jimmy this week. I know he has a lot of injured players on his bench, but he's a good manager. He has a lot of good players. So let's see if I can keep the streak going. Like I said all along, Joe, I've made mistakes like everybody else. And it just so happens that I find myself in second place. And, the landscape of the bigs would be completely different. I think you would agree with this. I think Ben would agree with this if there weren't so many injuries to so many clubs out there. Going into this week against Jimmy, if he had Lou Bob in his outfield, if he had Cody Bellinger, it's a much, much different matchup. And I think he just missed somebody else just got hurt on his team. I know Murphy's on the IL on his team, and so is Zhang. I mean, he has so many guys. So, you know what? Injuries aplenty. We're doing the best we can, all of us, to stay afloat. And I'm looking forward to my matchup against Jimmy this week.
Wyatt Langford is the other one that you were thinking of that he just got injured. He's day to day currently, but if he hits the IL, that'll be 5 dudes sitting on the IL for him. That's not a situation you want to find yourself in when you're going into a matchup against Jay Ferraro.
Is he droppable, Joe? Is Langford droppable in the bigs?
That's a great question. I think if he does hit the IL, he might be, because right now he's hitting 224, only a homer and a steal. I mean, this was a dude that got drafted in the 9th round. So whether you want to cut ties with the 9th round player is really how up to you. And it looks like he will be placed on the IL with a hamstring strain. So it's looking like he's gonna be out 3 to 4 weeks. I would drop him, but that's just me.
Right.
I think yeah. I mean, he's got the backup in Josh Smith that's already backing up Josh Young. Now he loses Langford in left field. It's not pretty. It's not pretty for him right now.
Waiting on all this talent
mm-hmm.
could put you behind the 8 ball. I've done it before, and this isn't directly related to Jimmy's situation, but with all our situations, we know Jason has a bunch of IL guys, Frank, the list goes on and on. Now I'm rocking Kershaw on my bench on the IL. That's different for me because I have a strategy, I have a plan. But the truth of the matter is, Joe, it's getting early late for a lot of these teams already. And if you're being held down because you're worried about 3 weeks from now, your season might be in jeopardy.
Right. And we're only through week 5, right? We're not even a third of the way through the season yet. But if you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball and you're sitting there with 5, 6 dudes on the IL, it might be time to start making a decision of let me see if I can trade one of these guys to somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of guys on the injured list, or let me just go ahead and drop this because it's taking too long to get these guys back. You're already starting to lose up roster spaces and lose weeks. So it's a difficult decision to make. I certainly know I'm sitting with an extra guy on my IL now that Evan Phillips has gone down, and I've got Trey Turner down, and I'm still rocking Garrett Cole. So it'll be a minute before I'm fully healthy again. I just couldn't see carrying that many guys. 5 or 6 is just way too many. Just way too many. As for Jimmy this week, he did take an 8-7 loss to Adam Lowenstein this week. Jay, 8-7 is a weird score, man. We don't see that very often here.
No, it's certainly a weird score. No moves were made on one side. Perhaps one of the factors, Jimmy having all those guys on the IL, could be another factor. But yeah, when you see a score like this, that could be any given night in Major League Baseball, a real score, it makes you think and it makes you wonder. And look, when you look at these numbers across the board, ERA was so close and some of the other things you're going to get into. But yeah, 7-8, it actually makes me smile that something like this could happen in the bigs.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Sunday, Jimmy had a 1 triple advantage, and Adam got the Sunday triple to tie that category. Adam had a 1 home run advantage, and Jimmy got that in order to tie that category. And Adam had a 1 error advantage, took an error, and they tied in that category. So it ends 8-7. Adam wins by 24 ticks on the ERA. Jimmy wins by 4 runs and a walk. And they tied in triples, homers, steals, saves, home runs given up by a pitcher, and errors. That is 6 ties in this matchup. Amazing. For Adam on his bench this week, he goes 2 for 15. That is a 133 batting average with a run, a double, a steal, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The steal would have played. That came on the 1st of May. At that point, he was up 14-5, and you got to feel like if you're up 14-5 and you miss a steal and now you win 8-7, like you had something a lot closer and a lot better than that, and you could have won another stat there. Of course, 6 stolen bases in a week and you can't get a win. That must be incredibly frustrating.
Absolutely. When you put up that type of number and it doesn't stick, like, all right, what more can I do? So it was just another tie. And both these clubs find themselves, 10th and 12th place. So this type of nobody got blown out here. This was like what both teams needed, was I'm trying to say. And one of them just doesn't just plummet into the standings. So you know what? This is almost like a tie in and of itself. Just go into this next week fresh and see what you could do.
Absolutely. Adam did not make a single move in the week, so credit to him for winning the week against a former champion and not making a roster move. His MVP this week is a guy who's having a breakout season this year. It's Alec Boehm, 333 with a 375 on base percentage, 4 runs, a double, 6 RBIs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. The namesake is crushing it here in the first month. A 360 batting average, 32 RBIs. That's insane.
Yeah, what more can you say? What he's doing for his club, as well as Riley Green, these two guys are picking up the slack from a Bo Bichette, and it made it so didn't have to make a move this week and still stuck by with the victory. Of course, when you have Altuve and Freddie Freeman on your roster as well, that goes a long way.
Yeah. The least valuable hitter is, in fact, Bo Bichette, 111 with a 200, a run, an RBI, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and an error. At least there's only 2 strikeouts this week. But I do have written here, Jonathan India was also shit, 077 with a 250. He got 3 walks and a steal. So a little bit better than Bo Bichette's output, but neither one of those guys really picking up the slack. The Cy Young this week is going to be Jameson Taillon, 13 1/3, a win, a homer, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, an 0.68 and an 0.68 whip across 2 starts. Really nice set of starts there from Jameson Taillon. The Cy Young is probably going to have to be Aaron Savale with his 1350 and 150, but realistically, Adam pitched pretty well going to a 3.15 here and no losses on the week.
Yeah, that's excellent. And the Taillon, that was a waiver wire grab because I think his first start back, Josh had him for it, but now he finds himself on Adam's team and he did exceptionally well for him. So that was a great grab whenever that happened. But yeah, to not lose anything from a pitcher during the week, not some weirdo loss by some relief pitcher, that is very, very impressive.
Yeah, and still lock down relief appearances and ERA. It's a great performance from Adam. Strong work. I think he might find himself on some manager of the week listings here this week with the tough but gritty 8-7 win over a former champion. For that former champion in Jimmy Dunlap, on his bench this week, he goes 5 for 30. That's a perfect 1 for 6, 167 batting average. A run, a double, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 2 errors that would have played. So good job keeping those out of your lineup. 9 moves this week for Jimmy. He added Garrett Cooper for Joey Meneses, TJ McFarland for Luis Garcia, and Matt Waldron for Michael Conforto. Waldron, 6 innings, a loss, a homer, 4 strikeouts, a 6 and a 1 against Cincinnati. He dropped Waldron for Dean Kramer, who was really good against your Yankees there. 7 innings, a win, 2 homers, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 2.57 and a 1.14. He drops Garrett Cooper for Cole Sands, who got blown up in his relief appearance. He dropped Eugenio Suarez for Tyler Nevin, who is on the Oakland A's now and apparently doing quite well. Mark Kotsay has them around 500 still. Amazing that the A's are at 500 in May.
It is amazing, and Mason Miller has a lot to do with it. J.P. Sears has a lot to do with it, and he's getting all that he can out of JJ and the rest of those characters there. It's a fantastic job by Mark Kotsay.
No doubt. Jimmy dropped Mitchell Parker for Chris Paddock. 6 innings, a win, a walk, 6 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 0.50 whip against Boston. He dropped Paddock for John Singleton, who went over 3 with a strikeout and an error. There's your tying error. Congratulations. He dropped Blaze Alexander for Jacob Latz. His MVP this week, as most weeks will be, is Ronald Acuna. 320 with a 346, 5 runs, a double, a homer, 2 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, a walk, and 10 strikeouts. That's a little ugly, but the rest of the line is quite pretty. The least valuable hitter, his teammate Travis d'Arnaud, 154 with a 214, 2 runs, a double, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. Brenton Doyle also hit 105 this week. He was pretty hideous as well. The Cy Young this week, going to give it to Dean Kramer, 13 innings, 2 wins, 2 bombs, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts, a 138 and an 077. And the Cy Yuck, I'll give to Christopher Sanchez, 5 innings, a bomb, 2 walks, only 1 strikeout, a 720 and a 180, though TJ McFarland was also bad as well. Jay, you're facing off with Jimmy this week. How are you feeling going into this thing?
Well, any given week, like we talked about in the bigs, anything could happen. And Jimmy has the ability to manipulate the wire and do something. So it's going to be a tough fight against Jimmy. And when you have Acuna on your squad, you got to factor that in. He has the Acuna factor. So we'll see how things go. Christopher Sanchez is a concern for me because he could potentially lose his rotation spot at some point. And all those injuries are going to be interesting on his squad to see how he manipulates it against me this week. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that matchup and, former champion. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, he's missing 5/9 of his starting lineup to injury now with all of these guys on the IL. So it'll be interesting to see who he picks up, how he manipulates that lineup. Jay, you're gonna be looking for 6 in a row this week. Good luck in doing that.
You don't mean that.
Yeah, I do.
No.
Actually,
I know.
in that sort of like, yeah, good luck, buddy. Hope it works out for you.
I can't believe I find myself where I am in the standings going into this week. And like I said, made a lot of mistakes. There we are. But I know Benny leapfrogged me, and I see you coming and doing what you're doing. And there's so many good managers. Jason has started to make a little bit of a push after all those trades. So, I mean, this season, everyone was talking about before the Bigs 20th season started, Joe, this was going to be a special season. And the competitiveness, the camaraderie, everything that's been going on so far this year has been fantastic.
Yes, the competition is higher than ever this year. And we're seeing matchups like this with 8, 7, and 6 ties. I mean, that's absolutely insane. We haven't seen those in a long time. Probably only see them once a season. So, really great to see that. And we're going to move on to the next matchup here. We're going to move on to Kostas versus Henry. And Henry takes down a 14-5 blasting of Kostas this week. We had 4 blowouts and 4 close matchups, so we're going to cover 2 and 2 here. Kostas taking the big loss from Henry this week. For Henry on his bench this week, he goes 10 for 61. That's a 164 batting average with 7 runs, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 10 RBIs, a steal, 7 walks, and 19 strikeouts. Quite the big output there. The 4 homers is the only thing that plays since they tied there. I guess I should go over what happened Sunday first. On Sunday, the triples were tied, and Henry gets the Sunday triple in this matchup. They were tied in home runs going in. They're tied in home runs coming out. Henry leads by 1 win, and Kostas ties that up. They were tied in losses, and Henry took 2 of those. And Henry led in by 6 strikeouts, and Kostas took that. So it ends up 14-5. Kostas, close categories, he wins by 2 losses and a home run given up. Henry wins by a triple, 3 2/3 innings pitched, and 10 ticks on the whip. They tied in home runs by a batter and wins. For Henry's moves this week, he adds Anthony Rizzo and drops J.P. Sears, which I find interesting because you just mentioned J.P. Sears and how much he's helping out Oakland. And Rizzo was your drop that you pretty much said that you had regretted doing late last week. Is that right?
I regretted it for the weekend because of what he did Saturday and Sunday against the Brewers, which would have gotten me a few more stats against Ben. But ultimately, like I said, he didn't fit into my roster build as I continued to look at it to see the type of numbers that he put up. And I know even for Henry, what he did here against Kostas, I mean, this was a whooping. Henry's coming, folks. Henry is coming. You know what I mean? And I don't think, aside from the home run on Sunday by Rizzo, there was a lot of days that I don't even think Henry started Rizzo. So I regretted it then, but ultimately, as these things go, I don't believe it's going to be that much of a difference maker. But JP Sears, on the other hand, who has been pitching well for a lot of squads, I mean, he's been a streaming darling. In fact, I know the name JP Sears. Sometimes he's been left on the wire and he's had good streams. So we'll have to see if this guy finds his way. In fact, maybe he did. Maybe later in the week, Mike had him. I'm not sure. I digress. Yeah, I don't regret it. I was just regretting it those 2 days.
I got you. Okay. And for the record, Henry has 3 big first basemen that he's playing right now. So he can't get all 3 of them into the lineup at the same time. It's Pete Alonso, it's Nathaniel Lowe, and now it's Anthony Rizzo. So he has to mix and match with those 3 guys in and out of his lineup. He added Kevin Kelly and dropped Sam Mole, added Anthony Maldonado and Hayden Wesneski for Tyler Freeman. Wesneski, 6 1/3, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, and 0.79 whip, nothing earned against Milwaukee. He dropped that guy for Joe Boyle, who got his ass lit up by Miami. An inning, a loss, a home run, 3 walks, a strikeout, a 36 ERA, and a 4 whip against Miami. He dropped Cole Winn for that guy, and then dropped Matt Chapman, his 6th rounder, for Matt Vierling. So Matt Chapman, newest free agent this week. How you feeling about that guy? Is that somebody that you're going to target with a waiver claim?
Absolutely not. This was the right move by Henry. Wasn't a 6th-round talent, in my opinion, when he was drafted. This is the same guy who drafted Yoshida in the 6th round. So everyone, let's calm down about it. But that guy hits the wire, striking out too much, and all of a sudden now he has a boatload of errors, Joe. He has 6 errors on the season. Last year he had 12. This guy was reminding me a little bit of Chase Headley. All that success early on with the Padres, and then just loses it and scuffles the rest of his career. This was the right time for Henry to do it. And when you know your squad, same thing with me dropping Rizzo, same thing with some of the moves you've made, Joe. You could drop a household name, and I know it's jarring at first for everybody, and we dissect it here on the show, but it's okay. Nobody knows their particular squad like that manager. Henry knows what he's doing here. He doesn't need Matt Chapman and all his strikeouts and all those errors. He's going to get picked up eventually, no doubt, because of the name, but this was the right call for Henry.
Yeah. I did get a text message from Henry this week. I do want to read it here as he sort of summed up his week for me here. Rosarena only playing well, getting homers that I need to take the category when he was on my bench this week, along with a couple of other bad choices, makes this 14-5. It feels a bit like a loss. And I told him, I said, you should never feel that way when you win that big, especially in this league. It's a great win regardless. Ballsy to put Alonso and a Rosarena on the bench during these slumps. Many wouldn't do that. So
right.
Again, he's doing what he needs in order to get this team to victory. And I'll tell you what, his MVP this week, once again, is Bobby Witt, 381 with a 500 on base, 8 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 3 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. Henry, I hate the fact that I have to do this every single week and tell these guys how good this player is because he was 1 pick away from being mine.
Not only was he 1 pick away from being yours, and I'm not just saying this, Joe. If I had the 4th overall pick, I was taking Bobby Witt Jr.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question in my mind. I'm not saying that now. You know me too well. I certainly wouldn't lie to all the people that listen to the Bigs podcast. I was taking this guy after Soto. I had it, bet Soto, blah, 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 blah. This guy was going to go forth. This guy is amazing. And Henry gets to manipulate his squad with all these guys. And, when you look at De La Cruz as well on his squad, he's been rocking that guy for a while now. And that 385 on base percentage certainly stands out from this week against Kostas. So this is just another guy that Henry went and acquired off the wire, who all the numbers don't jump out at you, but has that dual eligibility and has been performing well for Henry's team. He finds himself in the 5th spot. And let's be honest, Joe, this Joe Boyle blow up on Saturday against the Marlins, that could have happened to any one of us thinking we were being smart about it.
Yeah, no doubt. That was totally going to be a play that I could have done, that you could have done, that anybody could have done, especially after Oakland put up 20 against Miami the day that Luis Ariz was traded to the San Diego Padres. The least valuable hitter on Henry's team this week, Pete Alonso, did not get a hit, an 091 on base percentage, an RBI, a steal, a walk, and 6 big strikeouts. His Cy Young this week, we'll re-hit on Hayden Wesneski, who did not give up a run in 6 1/3. And his Cy Young is Joe Boyle. We just talked about him.
I just see, is that the sad face next to Alonso's name? Is that you or Jason?
That's Jason. That's totally Jason.
All right. Okay. I don't want to, I'll put everyone behind the curtain here. I have all these wonderful notes in front of me that are provided by Jason that I truly, truly appreciate.
Oh yeah, I will say this much, and I'm going to say it again on the show that I'm going to do with Ben and Jason later on tonight. But I was up late last night doing a lot of this research and getting all of this stuff together, and I got to my own team, and I'm looking over my stuff, and everything's starting to get a little fuzzy, and I'm going, all right, I don't want to screw this up. I'm just going to go to bed. Right. And I'll finish it when I get up in the morning. And I got up in the morning, and like a magical little elf or like Santa Claus in the middle of the night, everything's done. Everything's done with happy faces and all kinds of good, fun notes here. And I give a shout out to Jason. He makes my life very, very easy when it comes to this research. I appreciate him every single day. So again, something I'm going to say when I have him in person, but I want to hit on it just in case somebody listens to this show and not the next one. So I digress. For Kostas this week on his bench, he went 10 for 35. That is a 286 batting average, 6 runs, 4 doubles, 3 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, 7 walks, and 7 strikeouts. 5 stolen bases would have won him the category. And 4 of them came from Jose Caballero on Sunday because that guy ran all over my New York Mets. Gross.
This was a bad loss, Joe, for Kostas, and I'm concerned now about his team. And I know it's the beginning of May. I'm concerned. Torkelson, look, he started slow last year as well, and I know he had 2 doubles yesterday in Yankee Stadium, but Torque Daddy has been awful for Kostas' squad to start the year.
Yeah, he looks lost again. He looks like a guy who's just flailing at the plate. 216 batting average, has yet to go yard, 12 runs, 12 RBIs. I mean, it's justifying that everyone is staying away from him and he just kept falling in the draft. But if you're going to be rocking this dude at first base every day, he's got to pick this thing up. It was a 12th round pick that he's got to get some sort of value out of going forward, and having a no homer month is not going to do that.
No, and on Stacking Commons, when we were talking about Torque Daddy, we talked about we love the doubles, we love the home runs, too many strikeouts, not drafting him in the bigs. And unfortunately, he's doing nothing for Kostas' squad, and it's hurting him. And look, the Pages, I know that's not how you say it, but has been all world for him. That was an excellent pickup. And there's some other things that are happening. The other issue with this squad And Kostas, you know how I feel about you as a manager, and I'm not trying to pile on here because you would say the same thing, I think. This Jekyll and Hyde routine, Joe, from Julio Rodriguez just doesn't cut it in fantasy baseball. Where you
Oh, no
draft this
doubt.
guy.
Yeah, no doubt. This is a first round guy, and last year he went through his struggles to start the season too. Ended up having a great season and going 30-30. But the question is he going to be able to turn it on again this year? We'll see as the months come on. One would have to imagine that he does, but there's just not that oomph in that lineup around him that makes me think that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. For
Right.
Costas's moves this week, he added Jared Kelenic for a 1-for-3 and dropped Jordan Weems, and added Lucas Sims for a relief appearance and 2 strikeouts, dropping Kelenic. That's it. 2 moves all week in the big loss. Rough.
No,
His
it is
MVP.
rough.
It is
And I
rough.
think the Julio Rodriguez Jekyll and Hyde act doesn't help that JP Crawford, is on the IL as well. So
Mhm.
that really hurts that lineup. But if you scroll down, Joe, I could make the argument there's one too many offensive pieces on this squad. I can make that argument with the injuries and whatnot, but it's just, I mean, what can you say? What can you say? It's been a tough go for Costas. It's been a tough
Yeah,
go.
I think he's got one too many first base eligible guys, with Lamont Wade being that first and corner outfield guy that's keeping Josh Lowe out of the lineup, that's keeping Joe Adell out of the lineup. There's 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 one too many pieces here that we're looking at. I don't know what the odd man out is. But that that all being said, the the MVP this week is Andy Paez, 346 with a 357 on base, 4 runs, a double, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 8 strikeouts. Is a little ugly, but he's a young player, and you expect the strikeouts to be there. You also expect a great line like this every once in a while, which is strong work. The least valuable hitter, Matt Olson, his big trade piece, 111 with a 304 on base. No counting stats except an RBI, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts, and an error. How do you feel about this offense altogether with Olson and Torkelson and all of the outfield pieces? It just feels a bit cluttered, doesn't it?
It's too cluttered. And when that Olsen trade went down, there was a lot of people that said, "Oh my goodness, Costas got the much better deal." And ever since this trade, they've gone the opposite way in the standings, and Jason continues to climb. Now, look, nobody would think Olsen would be this bad going into May with
Right.
everything he did last year. The number that stuck out was, of course, the batting average. Once he starts hitting, things change for Costas' squad. But at that point, it potentially might be too late with how far of a lead a lot of these clubs have. This is surprising. It's jumbled up. Could argue that Costas might be in line to make another trade here to shake up his clubhouse.
Yeah, there might be something coming here. There's a couple of pieces that just feel like they're the odd pieces out, but that's for Costas to figure out at this point. Over on the pitching side, I like the staff. I don't love it. His MVP or his Cy Young this week is Tariq Skubal. 6 innings, 12 strikeouts, 1 bomb, 3 ERA, and a 1 WHIP. The Cy Yuck is Fernando Cruz, who had a 2160 and a 240 across 3 different relief appearances. So ugly week for him. But and overall, an ugly week for Costas as he takes down this 14-5 loss and drops to 14th. He's 15, 18 games under 500 right now. That's not great. That's ultimately the number you want to look at. You don't want to look at the place that you're in. You don't want to look at how many games back you are, because ultimately none of that matters. What matters is how far over or under 500 you are. Because if you're staying right around 500, you're going to be in the fight when the season comes toward the end. Sticking around that number is what's important. Costas getting a little bit out of balance here. 18 under is a long way to get back, but it only takes a couple of weeks to do. Question is, can he do it?
Right. And he's somebody who's had a lot of great finds from the wire, whether it was Brady Singer, Paxton, Pages. How do you pronounce it? The Pages guy?
Pages. Pages.
Pages. Okay.
Yes.
Um, so, he's able to pick up some good guys off the wire. If Julio
Mhm.
was more consistent and Olsen was doing anything, it'd be a much different situation.
Agreed. Agreed. The fact is, like, this is the situation he's in now, and maybe I know that he's had offers for Matt Olson as well. Like, I know that there have been trade offers going his way, not from me because I have Bryce Harper, but there have been. I've heard that there have been rumors that he's been asked about Olson. I think Torque is the one that he might want to try to recoup some value from. Unfortunately, you can't really recoup some value from a guy who hasn't hit a home run yet.
No, you can't. No, you can't. And I wish him well. I wish him
I do
well.
too. I
I
do
hope
too.
it turns out for him. And like I said, if he ends up, a boat for Olsen, it's still a boat. Like if you trade Olsen, you're not buying him on discount, even though what the numbers look like. You got to
Mm-hmm.
get back two solid, extremely good pieces, if not three, to really
Yeah.
spread things out.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Kostas is looking for pitching, so it's got to be at least 1 to 2 pitchers, and then add in a little bit on top of that in order to get Olson. And it's just, I don't see anybody really giving up 2 starting pitchers for Olson, but who knows? Who knows?
Right.
Anything can happen.
It's probably going to be you. You see, like the glimmer in his eye.
No,
Then all
I
of a
have Harper,
sudden,
man. Harper's not
yeah.
going anywhere.
No, Harper's not going anywhere. I know.
All right. The final matchup of the week, Jay, we're going to talk about is the good doctor Bryan Lebo taking a 14-5 loss here to Bobby Russo. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's another loss for Bryan Lebo. He dumps him into 16th place, and he's 30 games under 500. We just got done talking about how bad it is to be 18 under. This is nearly double that. The good doctor is not enjoying himself. He says, come get yourself an easy win this week for Josh Haber. In the matchup this week on Sunday, Bobby led all offensive categories, led it outright. And Bryan did come back and get himself stolen bases. So that's to be commendable. He certainly survives that. Saves were tied. Bobby took that down. That's the only thing that changed on Sunday. So Bryan wins by the steal. Bobby wins by a triple, 2 errors, a win, a loss, a save, and a relief appearance. And they tied in runs and home runs given up by a pitcher. For Bobby on his bench this week, he goes 7 for 24. That's a 292 average with 4 runs, 2 RBIs, a walk, and 7 strikeouts. None of it plays. The runs would have certainly been helpful to unbreak the tie, but I don't think he's kicking himself too hard about that because most of those runs were early on in the week.
No, when you win 14-5, you're going to make a mistake or two, or it's not even necessarily a mistake. Things are going to happen. So you take 14-5 all day. And what a huge, huge win for Bobby. Is Bryan really a doctor?
Nurse practitioner, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your service, Bryan.
Yeah. I love that guy. That guy is all heart here in the league. He texts me every single week. He got another text message to me. So read that out for everybody. Quote, this season, fuck this season. I'm so frustrated. I know you keep saying it's early, but goddamn, I'm embarrassing myself. I said, first of all, you should never be embarrassed in this league. This league is incredibly deep, and it's difficult to get a win every single week. So don't feel embarrassed. This league is as cutthroat as ever with the managers been assembled. You're really good at this, but the entire sport is weird this year. No chance you're finishing 16th. You're going to crush some dudes eventually. So let's hope for the best for Bryan. He's had a rough couple of seasons, but this one especially so. His moves this week, he drops Austin Adams, adds Dominic Leone, but left with back tightness after one hitter. Harrison Bader gets the drop there. He adds Carlos Carrasco, 6 innings, a win, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 150 and a 133 against the Angels. Dropped Leone. Added Michael Grove for a clean relief appearance, dropping Eric Fetty. and added Keegan Aiken for Dane Dunning. It was only 4 moves this week. His MVP for Bobby this week is going to be Stephen Kwan. 467 with a 619 on base percentage, 3 runs, a double, 2 triples, 2 RBIs, 5 walks, and no strikeouts. Stephen Kwan had an amazing week.
An absolute amazing week, and it just absolutely stinks for Bobby that this guy now finds himself on the IL.
Mm-hmm.
This was the heart and soul of the squad, of course, with Kyle Tucker doing what Kyle Tucker does. But, I mean, any way you slice it, Joe, Bobby cannot replace this guy via trade or on the wire. It's impossible. But what we do know about Bobby Russo is he's a fantastic manager, and he will piece it together the best he can going into this week.
No doubt. No doubt. Kwan going to miss about a month with that hamstring strain. So it's going to be interesting to see how he replaces him. Not that you're going to be able to physically replace all of the production he would get, but we'll see who gets the start in left field in lieu of Stephen Kwan. The least valuable hitter, man, this guy has bounced around everybody's team. Orlando Arcia, 150 with a 143, a run, a double, 2 RBIs, and 3 strikeouts. What a terrible week from that guy. And Bobby's been having trouble with his shortstop position since J.P. Crawford went down. So it's another guy that he's looking to fill the void from.
I think Bobby wouldn't mind me saying that we've broached the subject about Volpe. I think that's okay to say on the program. Names haven't been exchanged, but there's certainly been multiple occasions where we've started to discuss, hey, maybe this is something we want to talk about. He knows I'm all ears if that's something that he'd want to do. But, I mean, that's tampering. If this was real, that's tampering. But, I don't mind saying it on the program. But, yeah, I mean, that JP and then Galoff and now Kwan, the injury bug is all over the place, but we'll see. Big win regardless. Big win regardless.
That's the important thing. Big win regardless. His Cy Young this week is Michael King, 6 innings, a win, 3 strikeouts, nothing earned, and a 1 whip. And his Cy Young, surprisingly enough, is Logan Webb. 7 2/3, 2 losses, a homer, 5 walks, 10 strikeouts, a 939, and a 261 from the ace of the staff, and he still gets this 14-5 beating. Logan Webb had a bad start against Philly on Sunday night as well, for what that's worth.
Sure, and I just noticed on his with his relievers, he may have the closer for the Dodgers for the foreseeable future. So that's a positive note. But I think it's going to be a mix and match from Dave Roberts.
Right. Yeah. Between Daniel Hudson, Blake Trinan, and who knows who else is going to be coming out of that pen closing games for them. We shall see. But he does have the odds-on favorite right now in Daniel Hudson. For Mr. Lebo on his bench, from Dr. Lebo on his bench this week, he goes 5 for 28. That's a 179 batting average with 2 runs, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, and an error. None of it plays. So good job there, Bryan, keeping everything out of the lineup. Nothing plays. You couldn't have done any better despite not doing all that great. So this is what it is. His moves this week, he adds Jordan Beck and drops Tommy Henry. He adds Mason Wynn for Tim Anderson. He adds Steven Matz, 3 1/3, a homer, 2 walks, a strikeout, a 1080, and a 270 in Detroit for Alex Vesia, and drops Brett Beatty. He drops Bailey Falter and drops Steven Matz for Brendan Rodgers, 0 for 4 with a strikeout. He drops Brendan Rodgers for Sem Robersi. I have no idea who this guy is. No clue, but he's a minor league pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. We know that Bryan is a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan, so he must see something in the farm system that is going to get him some production. I don't know. We'll see. He drops Gabe Spire for Eric Miller. An inning, a homer, 2 walks, a strikeout, a 9, and a 3 in a relief appearance. He drops Nolan Gorman for Abraham Toro, 2 for 5, 3 runs and 2 RBIs. Huge pickup there. Drops Mason Wynn for Vidal Brujan, 1 for 4 with a double, an RBI, and an error. He drops Eric Miller for Jesse Chavez in a clean relief appearance, and drops Jordan Beck for Sixto Sanchez. 4 innings, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, a 450 and a 150 in Oakland. It was an okay start. Yay! His MVP this week is going to be Josh Naylor, ? 250 with a 333, 3 runs, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Is that the guy, or is there somebody else there that we should be highlighting?
No, that's the guy. If Jason says that's the guy, I believe that's the guy. But when you look at this offense, there's a lot of guys not performing up to what he needs them to be. And we got to look at Jazz again. I mean, now he pushes it into a utility spot. At some point, let's say, Joe, the summer and the numbers still sort of look like this, right? And let's even take it a step back and let's not talk about the bigs for a second, just from fantasy perspective, because I don't want this to seem like we're talking about his club too much. But is this a droppable player come summer if the numbers are just still lousy like this? I mean, the 7 stolen bases play, but is this a guy you could feel comfortable dropping?
No, I think that he's got enough speed and enough power to make him worthwhile on a roster. He might not be a starter on a roster, but if you've got, a platoon that you've got in center field, this is certainly a piece that I could see being rostered. If he were to get dropped right now, I would spend my waiver claim on him without a problem.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, look, the fire sale in Miami may have started this week. So is that a guy that could be tradable? I don't know. But maybe this is a situation for Jazz. A fresh start somewhere else could be really good for him.
It'll be interesting because that is certainly something to think about between that guy, Jesus Luzardo, and I guess maybe somebody like Trevor Rogers or another rotation piece. They don't have a whole lot of guys that have a whole lot of value. Yeah, I can totally see Jazz getting moved for a big prospect pool at the deadline. But this is the guy that was on the video game last year. Like, this is the dude who's the face of their franchise. They just give up on him that quickly. I hope not for Miami's sake. I hope not for like competitive baseball's sake. But at the same time, if he gets a new home, it might be better production for him. So that would be great for Bryan.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be good for Bryan. And Bell's another name that they could move as well. So, change of scenery for some of these guys could really help this club.
That's very, very true. The least valuable hitter this week is Yordan Alvarez, 130 with a 231, a run, a double, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Yordan's been okay to start the season, I guess. It's taking a little bit longer to get the batting average up, but he certainly has been providing the power numbers: 7 homers, 18 RBIs, and 19 runs scored in the first month.
Yordan, when healthy, could put up an MVP season. And the K's were there and he had a bad week, but like you said, the power's there. The 250 average is surprising, and I wonder what Bregman's incredibly slow start and that lineup being mixed up from a year ago has meant to what Alvarez's batting average is right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is this generation's Big Papi, and like, let's hope for Bryan's sake that this guy gets it together and gets going. The Astros themselves have had a hard time getting it going this season. So maybe over time, over the summer, we see them start to pick it up. We see Bryan start to pick it up as well. We shall see. I hope that for Bryan's sake that he hits a little bit better than this. The Cy Young is Tyler Glasnow, 7 innings, a win, a walk, 10 strikeouts, a 2.57 and an 0.86. And the Cy Young is Steven Matz. We talked about him just a little bit ago. So this is where we stand with these teams, and this is where we stand after 5 weeks, my friend. You are in second place overseeing this league. How we feeling? How we feeling? Is there anything that I missed that we want to talk about?
Just the
Maybe the
injuries
big
just
Arise trade,
continue. The injury. What did you say?
mm-hmm. Or maybe
Huh.
the Arise trade that Ben got
Oh,
this week.
sure. Now all of a sudden, arises on the Padres, and what a fantastic spot. And now that Lux is gone, and Nestor's doing what he's doing, and the Cubs closer situation is in flux. This was a slam dunk trade for Ben.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He gets C.J. Abrams. He gets to pair that guy with Luis Arise in the middle infield. That's an incredible pairing. And he doesn't lose the close. He doesn't lose a closer in Adbert Alzolay because that guy's not closing anymore. It's Hector Neris. Gavin Lux is off of Sherman's team. And what was the third piece? What's the third piece I'm missing?
Oh, it was the shortstop for the Rockies.
Ezekiel Tovar, who is good, who's
Right.
solid. And I like to begin the season, I was telling Ben, if you have to rock with Ezekiel Tovar, you could do worse. You could do a whole lot worse. Like, just go look at Bobby's team, what he's rocking at shortstop right now. It's not pretty in lieu of JP Crawford. The Luis Arise trade, enormous for the Padres. They get him this year and next year, so he's under contract for next year as well. I think they're going to let Ha-Sung Kim walk in the offseason, which will set up Cronenworth, Arise, Bogarts, Machado as the infield for 2025. How would you feel about that as the infield?
No, I like it. And what I'm also taking away from this trade, if you're an owner of one of those other guys, I have Kim and Bobby has Cronenworth and the other guys. I know you have Machado. I love what this means for their value as well,
Mm-hmm.
having a rise at the top of the lineup.
No doubt. He goes 4 for 6 in the first game that he's there, or 4 for 5 or something. Just an immediate impact upon arrival in San Diego. Who do you have as your managers of the week, Jay? Because I'm going to talk about mine when we get to tonight's show.
Well, it's a combination of a lot of guys. I always forget this question's coming and I have to pull it out. No, so I think well, let's see. How about who won this matchup here? Wait a second. You know what? No, nobody. There's no managers of the week. We all no.
No managers of the week from Jay.
No, I don't have any. But no, so wait, so okay, I want to give one to for Josh for beating his brother. I
Uh-huh.
think that's a good
That was
one.
an amazing matchup. We're gonna hit
Yeah.
that tonight. That was an amazing matchup.
I see that it was 11-8 here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should stop being asked this question. I don't know. But so and how about you for beating Cody? That's pretty good.
Okay. Thanks,
That's
man.
pretty good. And you know what? I got to give it to the commissioner third because that SmackDown put him in first place.
Oh, no doubt.
So I think Ben gets the third spot.
Okay. Jay, I appreciate you being here and making those up right on the fly with me, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. And the man, wow. You know what? Just to hit home though, with all these injuries and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
Joe, and Henry drops Chapman. I've dropped some players, a lot of household names. It's okay to drop people. It just
Yeah.
is. And you know
Yeah.
what? It's going to burn you at times, and it does in a short burst. Sometimes maybe it burns you for a week. But what you don't want to happen is you see somebody on the wire who's doing well, and you're still watching them, you're watching them, and then he ends up on someone else's team, you know? And that's happened to all of us at certain times. And that was the catalyst. Once I saw that Kershaw had a bullpen session, I said, you know what? I got to go get this guy. I did the same thing with Kyle Bradish. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want an opponent to have this particular player come to push in the second half. We'll see how long I can make it work because I have to manipulate my IL spot like so many guys have to do. But don't sit around because we're concerned about when we drafted a guy or what a guy might do or what he may have done a year ago.
Yeah, because this is a whole new season. We're already a month and a week in. We are 5 weeks through this season. Before you know it, we're going to be 10 weeks through this season, and then all of a sudden it's halfway done. You guys we gotta lock in here. And if you're concerned about getting rid of a player, don't be. You know your squad better than we know your squad. So don't listen to what we have to say. Just play this game. And you guys are unbelievably great at playing this game, making this a competitive league. Jay Ferraro, thank you so much for being here with me, man.
Always, Joe. Love it.
Guys, thank you for being here with me as well. And if you're not already subscribed or following us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube, please go ahead and do that. You guys will know the minute we upload. And let's make these platforms work for us. Until next time, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. And it is always real fun in the bigs. That's going to be my thumbnail for this video now.